cutdown means the roster moves are coming in hot.
I'm Luke Braun from Locked On Vikings, and one of us is getting cut today, too.
I hope it's me. Hi, this is Arif Hassan from the Wide Left Substack. Sam says he trusts me to think on my feet, but only one of the two lights behind me is lit up.
Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman. Listen, Jaron Hall won me our fantasy league, which means he's earned the right to be on that final 53, because that's how that works.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party. It's your guys hanging out talking next level Vikings football. So join in with Arif Hassan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talk's Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota Football Party. And it starts now.
What is up, everybody? Happy Monday on the Minnesota Football Party. We're so glad you're with us for a new week talking Minnesota Vikings 53-man roster and the latest roster cuts that just dropped. We do this every Monday, every Thursday, live, talking purple. Get in on the chat. Let us know your opinions on the 53-man roster. You met the Lukes. You met Arif. This is part of Locked On Sports Minnesota, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen or view today. For your second one, make it Locked On Vikings. More great daily Vikings content with Luke Braun, who is part of this panel that just introduced himself. We are going to be breaking down our 53-man projections. We're reacting to the cuts that have already come in, none of them too groundbreaking, but we'll dissect that in great detail. That'll take up most of today's show, which is brought to you by FanDuel. Let me remind folks that there's a great new thing at FanDuel right now. Through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Back in the day, when copyright infringement wasn't so frowned upon, this is usually the show where I'd like to play a little, Goodbye My Lover, Goodbye My Friend, and have that kind of play as we oded all of the cut Vikings. Can't do that anymore. Those days are gone.
Can I offer an addendum?
Because of the woke mob, I can't steal songs.
Yeah, because of woke. Honestly, I don't think that would be copyright infringement. The thing that occurred is an over-enforcement of perceived IP law instead of actual IP law. So long as we played fewer than 10 seconds of the song.
True.
Or, Sam, you can give us your own rendition right now.
Hey.
An original cover. It's licensed.
Blunt, right? I think you can do it, Sam.
Did I disappoint you? Rumor has it that if you sing, if you sing a song, that's also copyright infringement. So we're just going to have to hammer this button.
But if you're off pitch enough, the bot will never find it.
Yeah, I don't think Shazam's gonna recognize those pitches that you got in there, Sam. But we can try it.
I don't have a James Blunt.
I think is the way that we would put it.
The Vikings have cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 players of the 91. That leaves them 24 more tomorrow. I'll rattle them off. This just dropped moments ago. Matt Corral, Dwayne McBride, Sammis Reyes, Mo Ibrahim, Jalen Williams, Neil Johnson, Justin Hall, Owen Porter, Chuck Filiaga, Doug Nestor, Matt Cindric, Spencer Rolland, Apple Valley's finest, Tyler Manoa, AJ Green III. Now, of those 14, how many signed within the last week or 10 days?
Seems like that's what they're getting rid of those guys first.
Got rid of that'd be Corral, Ibrahim, Neil Johnson, I believe, Justin Hall, Chuck Filiaga, Matt Cindric. 6 of them were literally just third preseason bodies that they brought.
You got to
Never-
know the deal,
Never
right?
had a chance. Yeah.
Yep,
they
you got it. You're coming in. You're getting your 3 days. Here's your preseason game check, and thank you very much.
Yeah, put something on tape.
Now
all right,
you're in the Rolodex. Congrats.
Yep.
Now you're in the Rolodex. That's right.
Anything remotely surprising about this list? I say no. I think these were the obvious. I don't think these were even bubble guys in really any case. So this no jaw on the floor today.
No,
Samus Reyes must have been real butt because he didn't even count toward he's the international pathway, and they just like they're not even bothering. Like that would have been free.
Yeah, I think the closest loophole player to be kind of interesting might be Jalen Williams. Even then, that's kind of a stretch.
Yeah, Jalen Williams had a bad enough Eagles game where I'm like, that gets you smoked.
Yeah, that might have flipped him. Yeah.
Dwayne McBride, I mean, former draft pick, right?
That's a draft pick. Yeah, the only
Dwayne
one.
McBride.
Like getting cut this early, kind of like, are they even going to bring him back on the practice squad?
Yeah.
Outperformed by Gaskin in every game.
I have looked at the history of early cuts versus late cuts and how often they get offered a practice squad contract by the original team. It is quite rare. It does happen. Yeah. It is quite rare, and usually as like a second or third choice after the guy's like, "Nah, I'm gonna sign with the Jaguars or something." It's unlikely.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know if any of these guys could have done anything, even in Saturday's game, to really save their jobs or something.
Yeah, I thought McBride had a good game on Saturday.
It was. Yeah, it was fine. It was decent.
He caught 2 passes, which matches his senior year of college.
That's
right.
That was his whole thing. That's right.
Yeah.
He broke some tackles. I thought he did good, but no.
Debo.
Cooked.
Good postcast, by the way, on Saturday, guys. You can hear the reactions to every game instantly with Luke Braun, Luke Inman, Ron Johnson. Usually me. I wasn't there on Saturday, but, I mean, the highlight certainly was the KOC mic'd up, and I watched that all back, where you got the head coach reacting in real time, complaining to the refs, kind of tipping us off in the play call. That was great. But when you hear the coach talk, I mean, he loves every guy, right? And, he said some nice things about Debo, and you get to thinking, they're going to keep this guy. No. I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, did they cut him last year as well? And then bring him back to the practice squad?
almost
made the
positive,
team.
didn't they?
Pretty sure this is 2 straight cuts.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure as well, which makes me think maybe he sneaks back on the practice squad over Gaskin. But yeah, no, I think that's exactly how it played out last year, Sam. I think you're right.
Yeah. So now that we're down to 77, we got a little more information to talk through our 53-man projections. Now, the Vikings have done this all in one fell swoop, no leaks. I mean, usually it's piecemeal. It's one at a time. You don't know when it's going to be done for the day. Seems like they're done for the day. So now Tuesday, you wake up, they've got 24 more cuts to make. And, hey, it keeps our episode fresh for a full day, guys. This is great news. So let's get into it. Let's dive in position by position. And if you want to piece together your practice squad in the process, feel free. This is where I'm at. I legitimately don't know if there's 53 guys I want to keep. I think this is actually the weirdest year because I don't find that I'm clamoring to put the roster together. Like my 52nd, 53rd guys, I'm kind of like, I'm kind of ambivalent about, and we'll get into the reasons why. But like starting with quarterback, I'm kind of meh on Jaren Hall. For a second straight year, his best game was the 3rd preseason game against nobodies. I'm not moved by that performance, and I think that they can get him to the practice squad. So I would save a spot at quarterback and just go Darnold Mullins. How about you guys?
I think you'd be
okay.
fine
So
to do
first
that,
of all,
but I found that like we've got the space, so
yeah, that's where I was at too. By the way, I changed my audio in response to 3, I think, YouTube comments on my audio, which is a lot. So hopefully that works out a little bit. But I kept Jaren Hall just because it was tough for me to get to 50, which is, I think, the first time it's been tough for me to get to 53. But with the number of people hitting, PUP or IR, it was a little bit easier. I didn't have, roster pressure at tight end or anything like that to deal with. So, yeah, I put Jaren Hall on the team. And I think that one reason that that's important is because of the emergency quarterback rule. Like, I think I might have found a place for, like, say, Trent Sherfield, who I didn't put on my 53. if it wasn't for the fact that there's an advantage to having that guy on the roster, because game day elevations do not count from the practice squad for the third quarterback rule, where you get a free active game day roster spot for that third quarterback if he was originally on the roster.
And if it's not Jaren Hall, if you're just not that stoked on him, and it's probably somebody else, so it probably still makes sense to carve out that spot on the 53 like numbers wise.
Yeah.
Inman, you got him on?
I got him on there. Yep, I got him on there.
So 3 out of 4 have him on. I have him off. And I get that they would value his 2 years of system knowledge in the building and the emergency QB thing. Certainly for a group that was super injured last year, makes sense. Sounds like Jaren Hall's actually banged up a little bit from that hit he took in the third quarter. That got KOC kind of fired up. I've got him off because I think that he's a replacement level quarterback with somebody else that's going to be on the market. But again, they could value that 2 years of system knowledge. So you guys have burned a spot at quarterback. That's fine. That's fine. How about running back? Is it a clear 4?
I think this may be the easiest one of them all.
Yeah, we probably are all going to be in lockstep on this one.
Yeah.
We're all cutting.
Y'all
Aaron
don't
Jones,
have
right?
Myles
He didn't even
Gaskin?
play in the preseason.
Yeah, they want to run the ball better this year, guys. Let's just roll 5 deep. Okay.
Yeah, Aaron Jones, Ty Chandler, Kenny Wong, CJ Ham.
Yeah.
Easy.
I assume the closest anybody would have to potentially making a spot is Myles Gaskin, but that guy has practice squad written all over him, right? Like I can't.
Practice squad, game day elevation for special teams. Maybe he'll touch the 53 later.
Gazanked in the chat saying like we would ever have to worry about the third string quarterback.
Certainly not 2 years in a row. They couldn't do that to us.
Can't imagine.
No. Got to all balance out this year. It'll be fine.
To be fair, last year only one of them got hurt.
Yeah.
I do not have Trent Sherfield at wide receiver. I've got the clear 5, Jefferson, Addison, Powell, Tristan, Naylor. I think that's another easy place to save. Sounds like a Reef does not have Sherfield. I'm guessing you have the 5 that I listed off there,
5.
Reef.
Yeah, I mean,
I got really close with Sherfield, but ended up leaving him off as well.
I want a Malik Knowles, but obviously he's done 0 things to justify that. So
He might.
I don't think he makes
just
the practice
not
squad. You
be
know,
good. Unfortunately, yeah. Just might not.
A really disappointing year.
A Hendon Hooker to Malik Knowles in the CFL is going to be a lot of fun. I'm just telling you.
oh, that's gonna be great.
Okay.
Your crushes, Luke.
Yeah,
You'll be getting the CFL
hence-
Sunday ticket.
The San
my
Antonio
combo.
Brahmas will never be the same.
Yeah, our CFL fantasy draft coming up next week, by the way, guys. Get ready. Do your mocks.
You know what else we have to do? I think we just need to stop everything for a second. So who won Mr. Mankato?
Ooh,
Oh, we
Reichert.
didn't do that.
Didn't we do Reichert? Or we don't
Got to
know?
be the kicker, yeah?
Oh man,
Somebody had him in this group, right?
I did.
Braun.
It's got to be. Is it announced or is it announced like after?
I
roster
think it
cuts
gets
day?
announced
It's
today,
after
I
roster
believe.
cuts. No, it has to be
Okay,
after.
so
roster
we're
cuts.
on
Oh,
we're
with
on
the
watch
roster.
then.
Yeah.
This is enormous.
Man, who
Did I
else?
Who
just
does it
nail
this
her?
long?
Does everybody
I need to
remember
turn
their
someone's
picks?
tweet notifications on.
Yeah, otherwise it'd have to be like Gabe Murphy. I think actually Dwight McLaughlin is the only other reasonable candidate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's got to be the only other one.
Fun with PFF small sample sizes. The number 1 graded qualified corner in the preseason, Dwight McLaughlin.
What does qualified mean? Like 25 snaps or
50% of
50%.
153.
So it's 75 snaps. All right.
Yeah.
Great. I'm sure the council, whoever decides.
The count.
The cabal.
The grand
Yeah. Well, I
jury.
mean, it's like 3 guys just kind of decide that's Mr. Mankato.
Ooh.
Levi
Kale Chip
Drake.
said Levi Drake.
Levi
No,
Yeah.
Kale Chip. Yeah. Kale Chips in the chat said Levi Drake Rodriguez. I don't think so. I think he's played well enough to deserve it.
Yeah,
I don't think he's earned the
He's-
media
He's
buzz.
plus
that is
700,
intended to.
right? He's on the list, but he's still a long shot, right?
Really disappointing year, by the way, for backup wide receivers. I thought Thayer Thomas had momentum. I thought
Yeah.
he could have been the Tristan. He could have had that kind of
Could have been
preseason.
our
It just
Chad
didn't come-
Beebe.
He's always
right?
like that in camp. He
Didn't
runs a
come
great
together.
Indo route, but when it comes time to actually like get on the field, he's hurt a bunch, and then I think sometimes the physicality of like in-game preseason stuff gets him.
So
Yeah.
Sam, so you saved a roster spot with the quarterback and the wide receiver, keeping 5 and 2 quarterbacks, right? So you must be loading up on defense here.
I am. I found it difficult to put together a 25-man offense. I am keeping 4 tight ends. And again, I could save one there too. I wouldn't need to keep Tunyon. I'm going to because you don't have Hawkinson counting, but Oliver, Munt, Muse, Tunyon would be my 4.
Yeah, I kept Sherfield, by the way. I kept 3 tight ends, though. I did not keep Tunyon. And just knowing Hawkinson should be back sooner than later, maybe after that week 6 bye, I think you can get away with. I think this is going to be their mindset. You can get away with keeping 3 with Oliver, Munt, who we know, by the way, they're confident in Munt. They're paying Oliver, $7 million? And then you got Muse as that third guy. Tunyon, Harry probably was a long shot to begin with anyways, N'Keal Harry. But again, I think 3 tight ends until Hawkinson gets back. I think they're going to think that's enough.
We had a good question in chat from Tyler Ireland. What does it mean when a player's contract is terminated? Like in the case of AJ Green III, how is that different than a regular cut? So not all players are subject to waivers. Veterans or people who've accrued, I want to say 4 seasons with Green. I think he did accrue all 4 seasons with the Browns. You end up having your contract terminated, so you don't actually hit waivers. You can sign with whatever team you want to sign immediately afterwards. This primarily happens to veterans. So that's the difference between a contract termination and a waiver. And, like I mentioned, that changes things with waiver claims. I was doing some quick math for something else on how often a player is actually claimed off of waivers after they've been cut from the team. So between 2023 and 2021, 80 total players have been claimed off of waivers. So that's 2.3% of all cuts down to 53, or 3% of all waivers, which is about 0.83 per team. So
Arif,
you ever worried about a player?
You just went robot mode, Arif.
You're being exposed for the robot. You are. Okay.
No, I blame the echo cancellation.
Every time on here, we find out more and more evidence that Arif is a robot.
Can't fight it.
He gets
anymore.
especially robot-y when he's talking about percentages with decimal points in them.
Analytics, percentages,
That's
decimals.
so interesting.
Yeah.
You're good now.
I turned it. Okay, yeah. The echo cancellation inside StreamYard is very.
And you're bad again. Why don't you pop out and come back? Pop out and come back.
But yeah, what Arif was getting at, the math of that basically boils down to every team on average has like 1 guy claimed on waivers. Like that's probably about it. So I think we super overdo it with like waiver claim. Are we going to be able to get this guy through? Are we going to be able to get this guy through? Really, if you put if you cut a draft pick, then maybe we got to think about it. But if you're cutting a guy that isn't a draft pick, like it's pretty rare to be concerned about that guy. It has to be somebody with a huge market. For example, Andre Carter last year.
Right.
Yeah, it's less than 1 in every 33 players that gets waived. So, like I said, 0.8 per team per year gets claimed off of waivers. It's pretty rare.
Do you think that there's like a mutual agreement behind the scenes, or was like, okay, nobody poach my guy, and I'll do the same just to respect him?
No, I think what ends up happening is that all of these players are relatively similar in terms of talent. It's very unlikely that there's a player that's just like obviously better. Unfortunately, former Vikings cornerback and former Seahawks cornerback Justin Coleman was one of them. But generally speaking, they're generally the same talent level, but only one of them has been with the team for like 11 weeks and has learned the system, right? And so you even if you judge that a player hitting waivers might be more talented than your 53rd guy, you might keep that 53rd guy because that guy's more likely to execute because there's nothing that person has to learn. They've already learned everything.
You need teams that, like, for example, like where Sam would be at for a quarterback with us. You need teams where like, I don't really like any of these guys, and they cut everybody, and then they go start trolling waivers.
Is Marcus Epps one of the worst cuts the Vikings made that they lost?
Probably.
It's gotta be up there, right?
He's still starting
especially
in
in
Vegas, and they're actually
history.
excited about him this year.
Yeah, starting safety. Philly grew a little bit more in Philly, and then
wasn't
Vegas now.
Wasn't Donald Penn going way back? Wasn't Donald Penn?
Oh my.
A Vikings waiver way back in whatever camp that was. That was nearly an all-pro tackle.
Very famously, Jeff Schwartz, perhaps too famously.
Well, a lot of us, including Jeff, have made a big deal of that one. So,
speaking of O-line, when we return, we'll wade into those waters because this is where I think it gets juicy for Vikings roster construction. So that'll be next on the Minnesota Football Party. We are brought to you today by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. And that's why you check out LinkedIn Jobs, because they've got the tools to help you find the right pros for your team faster and for free. This is why LinkedIn is not your average job board. They are reaching people through their posting that aren't actively searching for a job. They might be open to it, might catch their eye, and they might apply. So in a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. That's what makes it special. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing a lot of hats, and they take a lot of time and resources, and or they allow you the time because you don't have the resources that you might need to hire, and LinkedIn makes that much, much simpler. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL, linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And be sure to subscribe, please. Locked On Sports Minnesota. If you're watching on YouTube, get us to 8,000 subscribers. We're very, very close. Also find us on the Locked On Vikings podcast feed, audio-wise. So offensive line, I'm going to come in hot here and say that Tyrese Robinson is going to make it. And
Can't do that. Can't do it. Gave up a hideous sack basically immediately, and to me, that pretty much tears it for a guy like him.
Well, okay, but like, who's it? Is it Walter Rouse? Is your guy there then? Because he's been pretty up and down, right? Like, I've been excited by the highs, but the lows have been there for sure.
Yeah, I'll take up and down versus nothing and down, because I haven't really seen Tyrese Robinson do anything.
The first preseason game I thought was encouraging, but certainly not better than
except for the one. But yeah.
How many are you keeping then, Sam? You got 9 or 10?
I've got 9. I think they're going to cut a vet.
I just have 8. Yeah.
Yeah, they kept 8 last year, by the way, which I forgot about. They traded Vidarian Lowe, obviously, right at the deadline. But yeah, they only kept 8 last year as well.
What are your 8? I mean,
I got 9. I got the starting 5: Walter Rouse, Quessenberry, Reisner, who I don't know what to make of Reisner. I just kept him, and then Dan Feeney.
Yeah, that's mine. And Reisner could be, I wouldn't say a surprise cut.
Not at all, right?
But Reisner could be a cut. Yeah.
Right. I mean, they only have to eat 1.1 mil, I think I saw, 1.1 mil. So knowing that.
Yeah, and they have to eat less if they sign him back after like week 2 or something like that. So they can eat it in the short term, then sign him back and bring that back up.
It's just tough though, because at least with Reisner, you know what you're getting. So it's just like you look at their starting guards right now. It just feels too early to part ways with him, not knowing what the Brandel Ingram experience is going to look like quite yet. But at the same time, again, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised or shocked at all if they didn't end up keeping Reisner. I really wouldn't.
I could see like a pup angle too. Like, do we know the extent of his injury? I don't even know if he's going to be available, which is part of why I figured it was safer to leave him off and say either reserve or a cut that's back after week 2 or something like that. But I just kept Quessenberry, Rouse, and Feeney.
He could be one of the 2 players that goes directly to short-term IR. It's a new rule change this year that you don't have to put them on your roster first in order to put them on short-term IR. There's 2 players that you can just cut directly without having to do the weird roster math stuff.
Oh, he's like a prime candidate for that.
Yeah, really good candidate for that.
Yeah. Okay. Did anybody keep Juergens?
I didn't. Practice squad,
No.
though.
Looks like none of us.
Yeah. No, he had a pretty bad preseason. I think that he had every chance to beat out Feeney for that job and just couldn't do it.
Yeah. They were so ecstatic when they drafted him. Everybody saw the draft video and everything. They were just so
They were
jacked up.
weirdly excited about this guy.
So pumped, man. And I get it. It's like, that doesn't always mean anything. You get these guys in here, rookie OTAs, minicamp, preseason. Things always can look way different than you envision, but it still feels kind of early to part ways, just knowing how excited they were. So maybe practice squad candidate.
You have to understand that, when teams are excited about like a 7th rounder that they've drafted, it's because they had like a 5th round grade on the guy, right? Like it's like that's what ends up happening there. And I mean, like, this is a guy that like I was a little bit worried about because he moved around in college because people kept on outplaying him at the positions he was playing. So he got like replaced at center by a better guy. And it's not like he was playing for Bama, right? So I was always like a little bit concerned that there was like a little bit too much.
Got hurt.
I mean, the way that the Brugler guy kind of wrote it up was that the center was too good. So yeah, I mean, it could have been that also a guard got hurt. Maybe it's like a confluence of factors, right? But yeah, I mean, it's a 7th round pick. I'm not going to over focus on it.
Yeah. When I went into the Browns game tape to go defend my like Ed Ingram take because I thought he had done well and then he had this bad PFF grade. I went in and I just couldn't stop staring at 65 getting destroyed over and over and over again. I thought, you were just not ready, bud. Practice squad. Let's try again next year.
A familiar sight actually in Vikings offensive line history. Just a guy wearing 65 getting absolutely
yeah. Important note. This might change your QB thing, Sam. This is a note from Tom Pelissero that just dropped. NFL teams were informed that the NFLPA vetoed the revised emergency 3rd quarterback rule that would allow teams to elevate a bona fide QB from the practice squad an unlimited number of times. So now they must be on the 53-man roster to be the 3rd QB. So they've undone that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a factor. I mean, I'll stick to my guns here, but I think that's probably where I'm least confident. I've got 24 on offense, so there would be an easy 25th spot there to give Jaren Hall. I think defense is a lot more interesting, and you've got a lot more prospective talents that we should get into right now. So, edge. I think this comes down to: are you keeping 5? Are you keeping a Richter? Are you keeping a Murphy? Who are you adding to the core 4, assuming that Pat Jones is number 4, if any?
I got Ward making it. I got your hot Ward making it.
I put Ward in, yeah.
I got 5.
Yeah, it was...
Got 5
again,
last year.
It was surprisingly easy to get to 53 as opposed to getting back down to 53, getting up to 53. So I ended up having...
Ward was one that I kind of felt like I didn't super need, but we got room.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I felt about it. I was like, maybe I could also fit Gabe Murphy on here, but 6 is weird. I didn't want to go there. Plus, not having Gabe Murphy, who I think will just be available for the practice squad, allows me to get another nose tackle on here because I only had 1. I had like 4 defensive ends and 1 nose tackle. Now I've got 2 nose tackles.
So how young are you willing to go at defensive line? Because beyond Tillery, Phillips, and Bullard, Jonah Williams, a bit of a vet, and then it's LDR, Taki's in the mix, Redmond's in the mix, Jaquelin's in the mix. A lot of youth there, though. Who do you want to go with?
I went with so I actually didn't keep Jonah Williams, which might be stupid because he wasn't active right in preseason game 3, which should be a lock. But I cut him. I don't care. I went with LDR, Jalen Redmond, and Taki Taimani.
Spicy. I like it.
So 6.
I like it.
3
Spicy.
rookies.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I definitely think Jonah makes it. I'd be pretty shocked about that one. But, hey, you got to have a little spice in here for sure. I only kept 5 with Levi Drake, cutting Jaquelin Roy, James Lynch gone. He's toast. Taki, man.
James Lynch was bad, yeah.
Yeah, Lynch was bad. Taki, man, I mean, he did everything he could. Not that we weigh into PFF grades too much, but I think I just saw this morning, he was the highest graded defensive tackle.
Yeah.
I think he did that week 2 as well. Kind of regardless of that, I thought
the entire preseason.
He was phenomenal.
It wasn't bad.
Taki Taimani is the hardest one for me to cut just because of how if that preseason performance doesn't get you on the roster, then it's like there's no point in being
what's the point of the preseason?
Right. Why am I showing up? What are we doing?
Yeah.
No,
I kind of think it doesn't.
I might not.
Just because of the nature of that room.
No,
if you got games like that from an inside linebacker, like if Dallas Gant played that well at his position, we go, oh yeah, absolutely in. But it's just the nature of how that roster is. Like there's just a lot of guys that are really hard to cut.
Yeah, and Flores too. I mean, as the season progressed, too, they kept 5 last year, but as the season progressed, more and more packages we saw where he deployed 2 defensive linemen, sometimes 1 defensive lineman. I just feel like Flores, trying to put myself in Flores' shoes, I feel like 6 just feels like a lot of defensive tackles for him.
I mean, it could be. I think the thing is, like, a really good preseason can help you, and having like the best preseason, I guess, might still result in a cut, but only because cuts involve a variety of factors, and how good you are is only one of them. How likely you are to survive waivers is another one, right?
Yeah.
Or what contract people will offer you on the practice squad is another one. So I think that's, it does matter. It's going to feel like it doesn't for some of these guys.
I'm here for Kwesi maybe having a sneaky, really good eye for overlooked defensive tackle talent. I'm thinking of Bullard. I'm thinking of Tonga, who had a good little run. LDR.
Who was the veteran who had like
T.Y. McGill?
Thank you. You had that locked and loaded.
Was that a Kwesi guy? Yeah. Was that 3 years ago?
It was 2022. I can't necessarily say it was a Kwesi guy.
The reason it was on the top of Braun's mind is because he referenced him in a wide left piece, actually, about kind of how we shouldn't be taking too much from the preseason.
It's fair.
Yeah.
It's not like he went and became like a superstar starter or anything like that, but would have been would have been nice steps to have because
we
were like emergency using Tonga later that season.
Yeah, but he was like valuable to both the 49ers and the Colts, if I remember correctly. Like he was like a good player to have on the roster.
Rosterable player, yeah.
He was a guy. Yeah.
I think you can pretty justifiably have 11 outside linebackers and D linemen. I think that the math can work there. If you want some of your prospects, if you want the Takis, the Redmonds, the Murphys, the Richters, I think you can justify expanding it that wide. I don't think inside linebacker you're going more than 4. And as Braun has alluded to, you might be picking somebody up. Who was the guy who had the pick 6 against Arizona 3 years ago? And then they re-signed him last year. What was his name? Someone like that. Help me, Nick. Was his first name Nick?
Vigil?
Nick Vigil. Thank you. A Nick Vigil type. Nick Vigil type to come in and take that 4th spot.
I think he took the field against us on the Browns.
But yeah, I mean, at linebacker.
I'm sorry. He's a Zimmer guy. Cowboys.
Yeah, he's a Zimmer guy.
Not a Stefanski.
Yeah, of course he
is. How's Chaz Surratt looking nowadays?
He got signed by somebody.
Yeah, not great.
Okay.
Seeking a promotion at Kroger's? I don't know.
Yeah. But at linebacker, I wanted to make sure I had a special teams guy. I think technically Camus is a special teams guy, but I wanted
Camus, that guy.
Another one. So I went with Cashman, Pace, Asamoah, Grugier Hill, Gant. I feel like one of them is going to get replaced by a waiver, though.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's Cashman, Pace, Camus. I don't know if Asamoah made the team, and then it's a waiver claim as your 4th guy. That's the way I feel like it. But I put Asamoah in just because I had a name to fill the slot to do the math.
Yeah.
Gant had a pretty good rep where he covered a guy in the end zone against Philly. Number 96, lumbering back there.
Yeah, but
like some good reps and then some like super bad ones that like.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me a little bit
close.
Of Kenneth Murray, where it's like I'm not super sure he knows what he's looking at, but when he guesses right, it looks great.
Secondary.
EJ Jenkins, that tight end rep. Is that what you're thinking of in the end zone?
Yeah.
To be fair, EJ Jenkins, I mean, that ball hit his hands. He probably should have came down with that, but
yeah,
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
You're not wrong.
I get it.
You're not wrong. Cornerback, how are we going to settle this? I feel like I've got some clarity, except for Moreau. I don't know what they're doing with Moreau.
I've got Moreau as a likely practice squad guy. I only have 10 players in the secondary, which is how I was able to get to 6 defensive linemen. So obviously Gilmore, Murphy, Griffin, Metellus, Bynum, Smith. That's duh. After that, I think it's pretty clear that Jackson and Evans make the roster as well. I can't imagine a world where they cut Theo Jackson. I think it's really likely that Caleb Evans makes the roster. So it's 2 spots for me, right? Which means I don't get special teamer like Nashawn Wright, which is unfortunate, but I don't think he's like a Najee Thompson type. So I have Dwight McLaughlin and Jay Ward, and I'm totally agnostic on Jay Ward. We can do whatever we want with that spot.
Yeah, I think if you're going to keep 10, that's probably the 10 I would go with. I kept 12. I kept those 10 and plus Moreau, and I also ended up keeping Scene like at the very end, but I have no attachment to that and still.
Who knows too? The other thing too is there's going to be a lot of movement here these next 24, 48 hours, obviously. And Kwesi loves to wheel and deal right now. Any of these 2022 draft class guys on defense, Asamoah, Scene, who else am I forgetting?
Trade them all. Get your draft picks.
Get
back.
your 7th round pick. And
honestly, that would be
5 7th round picks, and at least we got something.
Roy,
I wouldn't call it like a redemption arc for that class, but certainly I would like to see kind of some clawback of value on that class, because that's
that's
think
the
is
only
like,
way you can salvage it. I feel like
salvage is maybe the best part. Is the best way to put it, because like. We got the finance analytics guy coming in his first draft class absolutely blows. Well, now your finance guy is making insane trades.
Right.
So, you finally found the upside of that.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised about that either. If at least one of those, if not a couple of those guys gets moved as well. And I forget 16 practice squad guys. I mean, they're going to end up keeping a lot of these guys as well in this practice squad.
These guys stay in the building.
Yeah.
Like the Taki Taimanis of the world are
right.
They're going to stay in the building.
Jalen Redmonds, right? Like I kept both Taimani and Redmond, but like if they don't, it wouldn't shock me.
Right.
Keep Jonah Williams, who is a more expensive roster spot or a practice squad spot, just because you only have so many for veterans. And have Taimani and Redmond take those places. Like and I think that's like one thing we have to keep in mind is that I think like 8 years ago when we were doing this kind of coverage, we were just generally as a media environment in general, we were much more dismissive of who was on the practice squad and what that could do. But as the rules have changed and as we've been more exposed to kind of the workings of how these teams operate, the practice squad spots have become much, much more important. They're not just for developmental players. Like, that's still their primary purpose, but it's for a lot of players
too.
Yeah, it's great depth, the game day elevation. I'm glad that they made that essentially permanent after the COVID rule changes. I think the game day elevation, it's really good because the NFLPA has been wanting to expand roster sizes for a while. And while I would like that, this is like a pretty good partial step to expanding roster sizes. I think that this is like the practice squad really is just poachable depth, right? It's the depth that other teams can negotiate with and steal from you.
Yeah. Good point.
Do we think Andrew Booth ends up on the practice squad after Dallas cuts him?
Who?
He ain't making the Cowboys.
I did chuckle when I saw a tweet like Andrew Booth burned for a long touchdown from their game.
Well, he got 7 tackles in that preseason game. Clearly, Kwesi got fleeced, right?
Yeah.
Don't look at how those tackles came to be. Don't look at why he was near the ball carrier.
I got some tweets from like Dallas Cowboys fans, not like mad, just like kind of confused. They're like, I thought you said this guy was bad. I mean, he's got like 7 tackles. And I was like, I'm not going to look those tackles up. I think I know what happened.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you were right.
Gardner Minshew hanging a Husky on you and winning the job. Like, you're cooked.
Rough, dude. Rough.
They can bring him back. He's going to get cut. Bring him back.
Bring him back.
Yeah. Bring the whole gang back together.
Bring them all back. Yeah. Get the band.
One of these 2022 draft picks is going to join the team in like 2026 as like a weird camp body reclamation project, and we're all going to go, is this final?
We were just talking about salvaging that 2022 draft.
Hey, so Lewis Sean's back. I think he's finally figured it out, guys.
Back.
When we return, we will tell you who won our preseason fantasy league.
We don't have
It was dramatic, folks.
Oh, let's do that.
It was dramatic.
Let's go long. Let's go extra today. Let's go.
And who didn't get last. More on that when we return. Brought to you today by FanDuel. We've been talking about FanDuel all summer, all year. It's America's #1 sportsbook for a reason. All the lines, all the leagues, and certainly the NFL ramping up is going to give you some extra incentive to get to FanDuel. But also this, now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. If you are out of the Minnesota market, you want to watch every Vikings game, take advantage of this offer. With a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel whenever you want. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Download America's #1 sportsbook, and it's your last chance here in these coming weeks to get in your futures bets on the Vikings. It's FanDuel. Make every moment more. All right, again, 53-man roster will be finalized tomorrow. I imagine that Ron Johnson will have reaction on that show, and then we'll be back on Thursday for our reaction to the final cuts and any wheeling and dealing that Kwesi does in the next couple of days.
Sam, just real quick, the Mr. Mankato finalist poll, the official poll to vote on is officially out. Bad news, Will Reichert not even on the list.
What?
Yeah,
this
buddy.
is an outrage.
Let's
outrage.
Go.
That's
also
crazy.
wait. Why is the poll out before we know the 53? That's kind of nuts.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
Gets cut.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm also confused about you got Levi Drake, Dwight McGlothern, Tristan Jackson, and Jalen Naylor, who I thought wasn't eligible for some reason. I thought I tried to pick him, and you guys were like, no, he's not eligible. So kind of confusing. Maybe this will change, but as of now, this looks like the official poll to go vote on Mr. Mankato. So
I don't recognize the legitimacy of this anymore.
Yeah, strong disagree that Naylor is eligible. I mean,
I think Naylor shouldn't be eligible. I do appreciate that the kicker was left off the list, though.
True. Stop the steal. Chat's going off.
I will certainly give our podcast championship in this regard to Braun, because Inman, you had Malik Knowles, Arif, you had Gabe Murphy, and I had Thayer Thomas. I mean, you could not have had three more feeble
honestly,
than those three.
Oh, we didn't get anybody even on the poll.
Take it.
Yeah, that's nuts that we went 0 for 4
one guy on the poll.
Yeah. To be fair, I think we definitely have different criteria for who would be eligible, because I don't think we were even thinking of Naylor or Tristan Jackson, both of whom
I think I tried to pick Naylor, and you guys corrected
me,
and you're like, no, he's not eligible.
No, I think
a third-year player feels weird.
Yeah. I think Tristan Jackson would have been eligible just because he hasn't made the roster before.
Done anything.
So
okay,
yeah,
so
I think that would have been
people who have not been on the 53-man
for at least for a reasonable period of time. Yeah.
And
I think Naylor has. I mean, he was a wide receiver 4 for half the season.
Yeah, he's scored.
Well, Naylor's going to win it, right?
No,
I
think enough people. Yeah, right now Tristan Jackson is ahead in the poll, which I don't mind. That's actually not bad. But LDR is second in the poll, at least the one I'm looking at right now. And,
it's all kind of neck and neck. After
and then
Jackson.
it's all very close.
I get this very preseason focused. This is about what people saw on TV, I guess, because Naylor was the story of all of camp of this guy's really taking a leap.
Yeah. Naylor just moved to second. Don't love that.
We had movement in our preseason fantasy league, which concluded on Saturday. Remember, the winner gets an advantage in the regular season betting contest, and the loser can be disadvantaged 1 week by the winner. They can double their losses or have their wins, and then the inverse for the winner.
And we did that last year, Sam, and you had the advantage, and you used it perfectly, right?
Perfectly.
If I remember right, we were trying to figure that out. And you
I
ended
used
up winning.
It.
Did you end up winning the whole thing?
I doubled my winnings, and I doubled Arif's losses.
That's right.
In a week where I think I was perfect and Arif was over.
Right. And you ended up winning the whole thing, correct?
How'd that go, Sam? No, how'd that go?
Hey, I didn't have to eat hot wings like Lucas Braun. But
it seems like the hot wings were not as bad as the punishment as we had conceived. Let's be honest.
It was pretty rough. You didn't see what happened later that day, okay?
Behind the scenes footage. We didn't get the director's cut, though.
Yeah. There was plenty.
Yeah. There was plenty.
share.
We should have asked tougher questions. That's all.
Yeah,
Perhaps.
I'll wear that one. All right, here are the results of this year's preseason fantasy. On the left, you see the column for Arif Hassan, a lackluster Week 3 performance. He had a Justin Hall touchdown, and Gant went off in tackles, but that's about it. Luke Inman surges and with a preseason high 67 points and change, contributions across the board. Well done, Luke Inman. You're the champion.
Hey, I remember.
Congrats on JJ McCarthy getting injured, you ghoul.
I was gonna say, all I remember is being furious. I didn't take Gaskin when I could have, and basically I had to roll with Ty Chandler with my last pick. I hated that, but I remember Sam laughing maniacally when I took Jaren Hall, saying, I talked him into it. What a sucker. But yeah, okay. I'll take my victory lap now.
I mean, look, if McCarthy didn't get hurt, and I'm not saying Luke doesn't deserve to win, he does. I'm just saying if McCarthy didn't get hurt, we subtract the 5.7 I got from Porter. We add in probably the 8 or so points that McCarthy gets in the third preseason game. We subtract the 8 or so points Jaren Hall gets, and that feels a lot closer to me.
It would have been a lot closer for sure. It would have been interesting to see if you're right. JJ didn't get hurt. I mean, this
Jaren Hall might not have played.
Different. This looked.
I could not have managed this any worse, but I literally I passed Luke Braun to secure third by, if you see my mouse there, the 21st overall pick, Lewis Seen, single-handedly in week 2.
That was
me almost
crazy.
30. And then Mr. Irrelevant, Will Reichard gets me 16 in the preseason finale. Look at my team otherwise. Just abysmal. Now, Braun, you were even a little worse.
Well, no Nick Muse, no Kamu. I thought we'd get a little bit out of those guys, so I didn't do any waiver claims, which turned out to be bad. However, if Jayshon Jones catches that touchdown in the end zone, I don't get last.
Man.
Yeah, Dwayne
McBride stopped at the 1 on an outside run. One of those guys gets in.
Wow,
that's all I needed.
We're in peak fantasy mode right now.
It's really funny because with Justin Hall, I had 2 or 3 agonizing moments, and then the Vikings just decided, what if we give that guy another chance?
Yeah.
Jaren Hall just kept doing it.
Yeah, it was like every fantasy player's dream. It's like, if only he caught it. Oh, it looks like
I certainly thought Kamu would be active in the last preseason.
Well, that's the thing.
Game.
I mean,
that's a fair thing to assume.
Yeah, during the draft, we talked at length about half the battle. I mean, the whole thing of this is finding guys who are actually going to be on the field, but they still have to be good. So it's like some guys, it's like, okay, yeah, third teamer, but is he good even? Is he going to rack up any stats at all? So it was a tough balance for sure to find.
There's an episode of the Dropout.tv game show Game Changers where the whole point is to be as funny as possible. There's an episode where you only get points if you get second place. And so they have to produce a joke that's very good, but not great.
Not too
and they felt like this. If we're just
like this. Yeah. Same vibe, same mindset, same game plan going on. Yeah.
I mean, my 4th and 5th picks, and Gaskin did okay, but Thayer Thomas got me a total of 4.4 for the preseason. Gaskin was solid, got me about 20.
Also, you're Mr. Irrelevant. I mean, your last pick, Reichard.
Yeah, getting Reichard was big. Because you weren't subject to the whole QB carousel.
Right.
It was turned out to be very hard to predict who was going to play at QB because McCarthy got hurt and it changed the whole thing, and you were just totally insulated from that.
Also, Sam,
I am pretty happy with my waiver claims over the course of this. That's because
you picked up. Yeah, your waiver claims are actually
Porter and Justin Hall.
Porter and Justin Hall. So Porter got me 10. Justin Hall got me 10. Like over the course of the games that they played in. And that way better than I think a lot of possible waiver options here.
Yeah, that kept you in it for sure. Sam, you took Lewis Seen as a bit, and he ended up maybe your high score of the entire
had the best single game performance of any player, 27.5, and then another 4.7. Didn't do as much in the third preseason.
Wasn't even good in that game. It's wild.
No, Andrew Booth.
Check out why over at Wide Left.
Read why at Wide Left. That football.
In closing, let's just revisit the 53-man rosters and just refresh everybody as we go out. What is your biggest hot take, or like what was your kind of most controversial move on this 53? Mine is Reisner out, Tyrese Robinson in.
I think mine is Jonah Williams out, right? And Jalen Redmond in, which the more I think about it, the stupider it is. So it's perfect for this.
Yeah, I kind of went pretty vanilla, pretty by the board, pretty by the book. Maybe Jihad Ward as my 5. I'm trying to scroll through these and
we all had Jihad Ward as our 5, though, right?
Am I the only one with
I did not.
Tunyon?
I did not.
Take.
I had Tunyon.
I think you're the only one with Tunyon. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe only keeping 3 tight ends for me, I guess.
Yeah, I kept 4 tight ends specifically because I didn't keep a 6th wide receiver. So I think most of you probably have Sherfield over.
Did anybody cut?
No.
Caleb Evans?
We grabbed that roster spot elsewhere, right? Because we have 9 offensive linemen. I didn't have Sherfield.
I don't think you'd release a Caleb. I think if you got rid of Evans, it's probably via trade because you probably can get some value back off of that.
Yeah,
I mean, the guy started games and wasn't the worst at it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's a conditional 6-7 swap like it would be with Scene.
That makes sense. And it's not like it's cornerbacks a strength of this team, like safety.
Yeah.
It's like
I see a lot of people talking about like cutting a Caleb Evans. I don't get that idea at all. Like, you did just scramble to sign like 3 free agents in camp because of how disastrous this position was.
3 weeks.
Are we really just going to cut right back into that depth like it's a luxury? Like, we need dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah, at a position that historically needs as many dudes as possible, right? Like, more than any
especially for Flores. He likes to put 7 of them out there sometimes. Like,
right. Like already cornerback seems to be the position, at least as I can tell covering the Vikings, that you go deeper in your bag throughout the season than any other position. And then you had Flores in there just putting defensive backs on the field like it's going out of style. Like, yeah, I think probably you keep Evans. Especially because like the guys you signed are like Gilmore is like 34. Like, who knows what's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
And Shaq Griffin has an injury history. Byron Murphy has an injury history. It would be insane to me to get rid of a Caleb Evans.
Yeah, watch it happen like in 5 minutes.
Not predicting what Kwesi will do. He's insane. I don't know, but I think that would be stupid of him.
We'll know tomorrow, and we'll react to it on Thursday. Minnesota Football Party. Probably scheduling notification, probably doing next Monday's show on Tuesday because of Labor Day. That'll be game week. We'll do Tuesday, Thursday, most likely for next week. We'll put some best of stuff up on Monday just to whet your appetite. But that is all for today on the Minnesota Football Party. 53-man cut reactions. Subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota. Listen on the Locked On Vikings audio feed. For Luke Inman, Arif Hassan, Luke Braun, I'm Sam Ekstrom. Thanks for watching, listening, commenting, and we'll talk to you on Thursday.